the snow, yeah. And everywhere that child went, the little lamb was sure to go, yeah. He followed her to school one day and broke the teacher's rules. What a time did they have that day at school. Scott, Whiskey, how are you both? Good to see you tuning in. It looks like from, we got Facebook, we got Mixer, we should be out there on the Twitch. In theory, we're out there on the YouTubes. My name is Tim Fagan. You may know me very well. You may just be meeting me now, and it's good to see you too, Mr. 2. This is day number 2 of my streaming with CreatiVets, and I think it's maybe day number 3 of CreatiVets streaming out there globally on the interwebs, and it's very exciting, very new, and we're just figuring it out as we go. So I'll just keep reminding you that if there's anything that you want to know more about or anything that you want me to focus on, that goes for all the instructors and all the people that are showing up here. Mainly we're just trying to make sure that as soon as possible, we wanted to get up and start streaming to make a presence for the veteran community, especially those that have already interacted with the CreatiVets organization, to give them a chance to, to stay connected and to, if anything, not only stay connected through this time of the self-quarantine, but to continue to cultivate new ways that we can reach people going forward through the arts and music, and that's the reason I'm here. So there's literally no script. We've just kind of been putting together the nuts and bolts of getting the streaming, the technical side up and running. This is my setup here that if you've ever seen me do my channel called Timmy's Comeback, this is the same setup and everything, but I've set up the cameras a little bit differently. What normally there's a camera aimed just at my dog, Tony, who you can kind of see a bit of back there. We call it the tone zone. Now that camera is being devoted to one of the hand cams. So we got one for the right hand here, for the strumming hand, and then right here for the left hand, for the fretting hand. So this is aimed at being a guitar lesson, and the format of it, again, is totally wide open. I might assume that some people that are coming through here are absolute beginners, or maybe you have a guitar, maybe you've had a guitar for a while, and it's been kind of, you've been looking at the guitar and the guitar's been looking at you. You could have had it for years. I know a lot of people that come up to me and say like, hey, I've got this guitar. I inherited it from my grandpa. And then they're not sure if they want to ask me about tips on how to play it or on how to sell it. I'm like, I would play it if I were you. Well, is it worth anything? Like they're not sure if they've got like something worth taking to an auction. But anyway, sometimes when they keep it in the closet, in the case, it keeps it that 1 or 2 steps away from getting into their hands. So one thing I would say is just keep your guitar out. Even if you don't think, I'm not a guitar player and I don't know if I'll get around to it. Well, trust me, we all got time now. I know that everyone's schedule is different and some people may be more busy than ever right now. But if you find yourself with a little extra bit of quarantine time on your hands, pick up that guitar and just see what happens. I'll keep coming back to the idea that I might be teaching you something specific at any given moment. We might be in here talking about, strumming patterns and the picking and the pentatonic scale and the blues riffs and all that kind of stuff. But most of all, I want you to know, as corny as it sounds, have fun, enjoy guitar, because guitar is music. It's just one part of music, and music is really just one part of life itself. So anything that you enjoy about music, bring that to the guitar. If there's a style of music that you love, ask me about it, and ask me if there's any songs that you might be surprised to find out you could start learning sooner rather than later. So never think that just because you're in the beginning start of a process that it has to, say anything about you. You can write your story as you go. And I know how hard it can be to try to learn a new skill as a grown-up. I'm expecting that a lot of us will be like so-called grown-ups. Depends on how we actually act. But for the adult learning side, the biggest frustration is this clash between, well, I know what I want my hands to do, but they won't listen. And when you're a kid, you're a little more just like, oh, well, you're just going along. And I remember playing in my room for hours and hours, just kind of probably looking back, like kind of just zoning in and almost just meditating and just making it a regular thing where I didn't have to make it a thing. I guess that's it. It was just automatic because I was sort of immersed in it. And if you can get a little bit of that going for you, I know it's hard to do with all the stress, particularly of the world, but maybe because of all that stress, whatever we're doing now to kind of ease our mind and sort of like blow off some steam and kind of get away from the intensity of what's going on in the world, maybe you can mix guitar into that. So whereas you might watch a bunch of Netflix, that's great. Nobody's judging anyone here. You might watch a bunch of shows, you might kick back, you might listen to a bunch of music, you might, do a lot of other healthy things. What if you mix in like a slice of pizza in that pie chart, and maybe pizza is in there too. So you got your pizza time, but if you have a little bit of guitar time in there, just see what happens. If you kind of like, even if you start by putting 10 minutes a day in there where you just sit down and you say, all right, this guy Tim was telling me how to do the G chord here. It's easier said than done. Then you sit there and it sounds like crap for a while. As long as you don't beat yourself up and you just say like, or you can beat yourself up, just don't stay in that space. Cause it's like, that's the thing. When you're starting guitar, as a kid, like I don't remember being that tough on myself. I was just excited about it. So like give yourself like that block of time, as small as it might be, 5-10 minutes at first, to just look at something like, I'll pull up this other image here. Something that might seem like boring. And I love this chart. This was sent to me by Brett, who works with CreatiVets. And since we work with so many veterans, and what's amazing about this process is that they get to write a song. With myself, I'm just a songwriter. I never served in the military, but working with CreatiVets has changed my life. And, I've been friends with people who've served in the military throughout my life, including service members in my family. And the sense of honor and respect and discipline that they have has always inspired me. And I know it's also a double-edged sword, that there can be a lot of pressure you put on yourself and a lot of expectation to nail it and do it the right way. But I love that these men and women that we've written songs with don't think of themselves as songwriters, because most people don't think of themselves as songwriters. They think like, who, me, songwriter? How does that even work? Do you start with the music or the words how does it begin? How does anyone even just sit down and write a song? And the truth is nobody really knows, but you just show up. And that willingness to just show up leads to some amazing songs. And I'll play one or two as we go, some of the songs that are written with veterans that help tell their story. And it just always is, it's always a unique experience. There's always something more to the story that comes out than we ever could have expected, always in a better way than we could have planned on. And that's just an example of how you might not think of yourself as a guitar player. You might not think of yourself as a musician or a songwriter. You might think, oh, well, I know friends that are really good. They can really play. They can really sing. Hey, Porsche, how you doing? Porsche is one of my friends and one of the family members from the Timmy's Comeback tribe, as well as Whiskey Papa. And we see Awesome Ketchup in there every now and then. Not as often as we'd like to. Awesome Ketchup, come on. You got an all caps name. You got to be showing up regularly at the Timmy's Comeback, but enough self-promotion. Back to the task at hand. So once you get a taste of knowing that you can do something that you didn't think you could do, I know that for me, it rewires your whole idea of what's possible. And I know that anyone that has, faced the challenges of just being in the military, just getting into a position where you can keep up with the rigors and what's expected of you in that position, you got what it takes and then some to just keep showing up. And like, if you see yourself as like whatever works for you, if you see yourself as a warrior, if you see yourself as like an underdog, as like someone who's kind of like, the odds are stacked against you, you can bring that into this experience too, because it's really fun to kind of think like, wow, like nobody's gonna see this coming. I'm like, and you can even paint the picture in your head of like, I'm gonna learn a few chords, and as stupid as it might sound right now, because I can barely get the G chord going, I'm gonna play a song out of nowhere. I'm not going to tell anyone that I'm practicing, and then at the next barbecue where we're all allowed to actually be together, or maybe you want a safe distance between you and your tunes. So maybe 6 feet is good. Maybe the social distancing is good, so the groupies don't tear your clothes off. But you're gonna have your moment where you decide to let the world know. But for right now, just practice, just show up, just jam, just make no guarantees other than that you're going to show up. So like something like this, this chord chart I was showing you, is something that like a lot of the songwriters, the veterans who've written their first song, they get shown these guitar chords because now it's their chance to learn the song that they sat there and wrote with us. Because, during the songwriting process, we might all be holding guitars and working through the music, but then they're feeding us ideas for the lyrics, and they're telling us their story, and they've got suggestions a lot of times on the melody, and before they know it, like sometimes we've created a monster, so to speak. They're like, oh, and then it could do this and do that, and it's like the momentum takes off, and because that's the buzz of writing a song, and that never gets old. I would say the same is true for guitar playing. It's like learning a new chord, learning a new scale, learning a new lick, all those things, they keep it exciting. So I hope you get bit by the bug. Maybe you already have been bitten by the guitar bug, not bitten by the corona bug. You stay away from that one. Keep playing it safe. We might have to have like regular wash your hands reminders throughout the stream and stuff. But I hope you're doing well on that front. I hope everyone in your life is safe and sound as well as can be thus far, because we got quite the road ahead of us. So why not make some time for guitar? That's my case. It has been made. So Porsche, I know that Portia, 2-seater right there in the chat, is a Nashvillean, a fellow Nashvillean. Porsche, you ever play guitar? I haven't asked you. You ever played an instrument in your time on this earth? You ever tried? I know the Whiskey Papa's a guitar slinger out there. We've been friends for a long time. I know that Whiskey Papa's a wonderful singer and just a great musician, and therefore, I'm going to call you out. Anyone out there who I know anything about, I can already see in them, the skills, the chops, the whatever you think might be magical about being a musician. It's like, you got it. So like, the question is, what excuses are you telling yourself that might be getting in the way? So Whiskey Papa, if you're listening, I know you got your work day going on, but if you were to list off like what's one of the number 1 or 2 excuses you tell yourself, or just little hang-ups where you might say like, finish the sentence. It's like, well, yeah, but ... like, when it comes to guitar, I get stumped by, or when it comes to practicing, like I never feel like I'm getting enough time in, or when it comes to getting the hang of playing along with songs, I usually get frustrated. Porsche, you just revealed that you're a guitar player, a certified guitar player. Chet Atkins, as you may know, is one of my heroes. And he referred to himself as a CGP, certified guitar player, which is just a title he gave himself just kind of for fun, as a way to almost just kind of like, give himself a pat on the back for all the years of working and kind of figuring out his own style. To kind of every now and then say like, yep, I earned my degree in guitarology. Maybe that should be a lyric. That sounds like that'd be one of. He's got a song that he did called Yakety Axe on an album with Mark Knopfler. That's great. That kind of talks about that, like poverty-stricken, but it's all sort of about the plucky ups and downs of being a guitar player, as it were. Well, that's great, Porsche. Your dad taught you 3 chords? Yeah, sometimes that's all it takes. First chord's free. That's great. Yeah, like having a friend and having a family member you can hang out with and pick with, as it were. Okay, so Whiskey Papa, thank you for coming clean and sharing some of the things that run through your head, like talking about trying to get effective practice in. And we beat ourselves up a lot of times thinking about theory or thinking about the fretboard and things that seem like it's sort of like with a spoken language, like it's like, oh, if only I had focused more on anything in school. It's like, oh, if only I'd focused more on like every now and then math pops up, like, oh God, geometry, how does that even work? I forget. So you kind of wish for that stuff that would be second nature, right? And I know what you mean. There's a feeling like, oh, there was a window when I was like a sponge for learning, and now it's like, whoosh, when can I find the time? Well, now what you got to do, I would say, is like use your experience as a grown-up and find something that can be an advantage, that just sort of tricks you into thinking that like you can do whatever you want. And that's, I think, kind of the answer, is like you can do whatever you want. The difference between when you're a high schooler or a kid is that you kind of are at the mercy of teachers and parents, as long as you don't drop out and run away from your obligations. Like you kind of have a really set regiment, which has its benefits because you're just kind of like locked in, like you do your homework. I mean, I was like, busting my butt in school to like stay on track with the assignments. So maybe what you can do is meet yourself in the middle and give yourself a really clear assignment. One of the things about being an adult is that we have to make all these decisions about how to navigate our extracurricular activities, and they compete with our obligations and our job and everything like that. So if you can just make yourself like, and it might seem like it's not a big enough gesture, but like I said, give yourself like a sort of a hard assignment to like sit down for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes and just pick one thing that you're going to focus on, because we get caught up in the big idea too much of like, I got to approach theory, and theory is this, in my head even, for whatever I know about theory, it seems like this edgeless void, this monolith of theory. You can never learn enough. And it's true, you can never learn enough, but the theory is only as good as the stuff you can actually use. It would be like reading an entire cookbook of recipes but never touching the ingredients. Like there's no real value there. And by the time that you reach the end of the book, you're not going to remember how to do the stuff at the beginning. Versus if you read one recipe and you try that one recipe and make it badly, or maybe you luck out and you do a lot better than you thought, you've completed the cycle. So you go from an idea, like something on paper, you try it with your own hands, and then you assess, and then you reevaluate and you fine tune as you go. That's what I would recommend, is like take almost sort of like a life hack approach to it. It's like, yeah, I'm a grown up. Yeah, I wish I had learned it when I was like, 15 or whatever, and wish I was just like, it was in my bones right now. But on the flip side, you can say, well, now I'm a grown up, and now I've got the internet, and now I've got like control over how I book my schedule to a certain degree. And I'm going to attack this very specifically and kind of go in and systematically learn certain things. So when it comes to theory, let's get into this a little bit with a specific example. Let's make the deal that at the end of this kind of lesson together, everyone's going to leave with an assignment. And it might be exactly the thing that I bring forward, or you might grab something from it and sort of customize it to yourself so that you can come back the next time. I'm not sure what my schedule is going to be like, but let's imagine if we were coming back 1 week from today, if you gave 1 week of time towards one topic and didn't let the big idea of theory get in there and scare you off, then you just figured out that one topic for a week, get in your licks, so to speak, and then we'll reassess when we get back together. So Porsche, you're saying kind of the same thing. The first 3 chords, the A, E, and D. if you do, Peggy Sue, then you know why I feel blue about Peggy, my Peggy Sue. Well, I love you, girl, and I want you, Peggy Sue. Then what's the other buddy on? Like, my love is bigger than a Cadillac. I try to show you, but you drive me back. Your love for me, you got to be real, for you to know just how I feel. I mean, there's so many songs that can hang out on just the E, D, and A. It's good times. So understanding the fretboard, theory, Porsche, you echo that. Okay, let's see what we can do here then. So let's just look at E, D, and A. Back to the scene of the crime there for Porsche. What do we know about A? Like what information have we already absorbed that we might actually be able to connect more dots? And so we've got A. And even if we look at this chart over here, we'll look at the, I think it's got to have the A chord on it. Yeah, switch over to this one. Okay, so you can see over here, sort of the bottom right here, we've got the A chord. So, and then these are, as you know, just to review, these are called like the open position chords, and they're called open because they include open strings. Open strings are the ones that you don't need to press a finger down for. So if you were to strum your guitar literally without putting your left hand on the neck at all, you'd be strumming just open strings because they're wide open. They got nothing holding them down. So down here, this particular A chord that most people learn as their first A chord, it's the one that has the three notes side by side. So again, if you can see my mouse here, it's that little cluster of three notes right there. So the things that we know about it, it's an open position. So that's the position that we're in. It's an open position A chord. And so the reason that we know that it's an A chord that reinforces that idea is that this is also the A string. So the bottom note of the chord is an A. Okay? And you may have heard the word root. And so the root of the chord is an A. Think of the root just the way it sounds. It's like, it's the root, it's the foundation, it's kind of like the ground floor. And it's where the chord gets its name, and most of the time, until further notice, most of the time it's going to be the lowest note in the chord. So another way to think of this root, this very foundational and important note of the chord, is that it's, like I said, it's sort of like the ground floor. So if you think of that as like the number 1, this is like the home. These are all kind of like synonymous words, but they get thrown around and they mean different things that apply to the theory once we start moving around to different chords. So you got this chord, the lowest note is an A. That's the root note. On the guitar, this is an open string because I don't need to press down any of the frets. And I can call this the 1. This is the 1 because it is the in the scale of A, in the key of A. Again, this would be home. This would be like if you're going down. Don't worry about what I'm playing, just trust your ear right there. So don't look at my hands, but you know that if you hear a scale that does that makes those sounds, that you've reached home. It would sound weird if you got to the end of that lick and you never got to resolve it. So these things that seem obvious, that almost seem so obvious that it's like, oh, why is he explaining that? It's like, bring them with you, because that intuitive knowledge about what music wants to do will help you hear what the theory is asking you to do. Because if you get stuck with theory thinking that it's always like math, that's because you're trying to calculate on the fly. Versus if you absorb some of that thinking of like, oh, it's A plus B equals C, it's 1, it's 4, it's the flat 5. If you take a little bit of that like homework that you've done and then start mixing it into the feeling that you have, and you move those things together at the same pace, then it's going to feel more natural, and it's going to keep feeling like music, as opposed to like, I studied for 3 weeks straight, trying to get to the bottom of what it is about a mixolydian scale. But you got to hear it, you got to feel it, because music and you've been hearing these scales your whole life. All you're doing now is connecting little names and labels to them, which keep that priority and that kind of hierarchy in mind the whole time, right? So we've got A, we've got an A chord. We're calling the bottom note, the lowest note, the root, and this is an A in this case. Now, if we were in the key of A, if this was our, like, just take my word for it, we're in the key of A right now. We just got one chord, so we got nothing else to compare it to. Then an A major scale would be the one you already know, the do, re, mi. I don't really play this position. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And those are all the notes of the scale, and we know that it repeats. Do, do, re. So now we're just an octave above. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So that's so simple that it just, you get through do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and you've already done the whole scale, and now you're just repeating. So it takes some of the work out of it. You're just repeating these patterns over and over again. They might be looking differently as you go up and down the neck, but just keep remembering to trust your ear, because if you can sing what you want to, forget about whether your voice is good or bad and all that, but if you can sing where you want the next note to go, then you can usually find your way there, even if it takes feeling around for it for a second. And then that's going to help you understand, like, oh, okay, that's where that A is. Because right here, for example, we've got the low A. That's the root. Where would the next A be? So if this is the one right here, see if you're following along, just write the letter A when you think I've reached another A. So here's the low A. I'll give you that one for free. Now type A into the chat when you think I've hit A again. I'll go slowly, and then once you think I hit the next octave up of A, type A. That's the A. Okay, all right, we got some A's. I'll count that. Yeah, it was somewhere around the territory. Just seeing what it's like to try the stream version of this, seeing if testing the pulse out there. So you can tell where they are, like do. Gotta be on that FTL, baby. FTL is the low latency mode on Mixer. I'm normally a Mixer streamer. I love it all, though. Wherever you can reach your people, you find them. Just might take a second to get there. So these are octaves. These are octaves of the A. Those are all A's. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And it repeats on and on. That matters because then, between those two A's, you've got these other notes, and these other notes have numbers. So let's just try that out. So we've got A. We also talked about, we've got the A, the E, and the D. So the E is this chord. And since I know my audience at the moment, I know you guys know this chord, but if any of you are watching, if you're just joining us and you have any questions at all, just chime in about like what this chord is, that chord is. So if we go to actually, let's go from the A to the D. Here's another open chord. So we've got the open string. Hey man, if you want to send me your phone number, you got to give me more digits, baby. So don't get ahead of us with the math whiskey, So what I'm playing here with the D is related to the A chord. And by related, I mean like they have a certain kind of relationship, as it were. And so that's just going back and forth between the A and the D. So just like we did for the A chord, we've got a D. It's got an open string at the bottom, and it's a D. So it gets its name from the lowest note of the chord, and it's the root of the chord. So we got the D, and we got the A. Now, if we said before, okay, all right, we're doing a song in the key of A. I've got this A chord. What's its relationship to the D? D is the up chord, yeah? That can be a way of looking at it. As we go along, I want you to know that like most of how people refer to chords and theory and stuff, they're making it up as they go. So you find some people that say, oh, that's the 1 chord, that's the 4 chord. That's like in the traditional school version of theory, you've got the subdominant and the dominant, and you might hear a mashup of these phrases and stuff like that. Again, just know that they're all kind of like overlapping and sort of redundant, and there isn't one that's better than the other. And top level musicians confuse each other all the time, and basically they all kind of learn a different kind of sort of like gumbo of all these expressions. So what might help as we go is that I'm trying to clarify, like, oh, that means the same thing as that, or oh, sometimes people say that, but what they actually mean is this, but nobody ever corrected them because you just sort of learn this kind of like hodgepodge language of it and stuff like that. Whiskey showing some stuff he learned, the A, B, C, D. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Do, re, mi, fa. So you've got your A, and we're in A major, playing an A major chord. And what Whiskey Pop is referring to is the D chord can be called the 4 chord in relation to the A. So again, keep thinking we're in the key of A, and then once we learn these different relationships, then you can apply them to different keys. That's kind of the thing that might get confusing, is that like the A chord is the home chord, and it's the home scale if we're in the key of A, but it has a totally different relationship if you start with a different key that is like the home bass. So in this case, A is the home bass, so it's 1. That low note is 1, and if you go A, B, C, D, that D chord is the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you got an A chord to a D chord, 1 chord to a 4 chord. But then what would you call the E chord, Whiskey, Portia, or Ketchup, or anyone else? What would you call the E chord using that same numbering system in relation to the A? So we're in the key of A, and now we've got so the D is the 4 chord, the A is our 1 chord, and the E is correct, the V chord, the 5 chord. Classic 1, 4, 5. It should probably have its own sticker or emote. Classic 1, 4, 5. So some of you may have heard that expression, or maybe you're really familiar with the 1, 4, 5, classic 1, 4, 5. And what that means is that like the chord charts, the charts that, you know, the harmony, basically, the way that you can, harmony is another way of saying chords, the way that you can describe chords is in terms of numbers, because, and don't worry about like following this exactly, but right now we're in like, we're in A, but if we go to like, you know, let's say we go to B flat, we go like, we go to B. These are all different chords in the sense that they're all different keys, but the relationship between them is all the same. So like right now we're playing the 1, the 4, and the 5, back to the 1. those chord shapes right there look super different than what I was just playing. But you can hear with your ear that it sounds almost like, it just sounds like we, shifted the tuning up a little bit. My point is that the relationship between the chords in this case matters more than the exact key. So we know that if this is a 1, and that's a 4, then that's a 5, and that's a 1. And 1, 4, 5 is how you find a lot of blues and a lot of rock. Just all up and down the line. It's basically like the main anchor of Western music, and Western, not country and Western, but like Western civilization music, like the 12-tone scale and everything. So not just through pop music, but throughout all of like what our ear naturally hears. So if you've got this chord chart right here, since we got some brainiacs here in the crowd today, let's do a little pop quiz here. Then we've got A, and we've got E, and we've got D. We've already determined that A is the 1 chord, D is the 4 chord, and E is the 5 chord. So now from this chord chart right here, let's say if I were to just randomly choose, let's say the chord C. So now C is our 1 chord, is our home chord, is our root. So we've got C. What would our 4 chord be? So if you've got that recipe where you walk up from C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So C, C, D, E. That's our 4 chord. What's that one? Okay, we got the F. Nicely done, Porsche. This isn't quite trivia. Sometimes I do trivia on my show at night. We're not going to be rewarding any big prizes here, and I will not be chugging any hot sauce, which is also something I've taken a liking to. Okay, well then what would the 5 chord be? We've got C as our home chord. C goes up to 4. What's one more notch up from 4 to 5 from there? Nice teamwork there, team. A G chord. Okay, let's move now we're moving the home, we're moving the root to G. So we've got G. Tell me what's the 5 chord in relationship to G. G is the 1. So G's our home base. Yeah, nice, Porsche. I assume you're answering to the last question. So now our home base is G. What's our 5 chord? Sorry, I may have asked a different question then changed it. So our home chord is G. What's the 5 chord in relationship to G? No D. As in, no idea, baby. No, you got it. D is correct. So G, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And even if you knew nothing about scales, like where your fingers are technically supposed to go, you could sound that out. You could be like do, do, re, mi, 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 fa. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. You could find the 4 chord. You know, it might be painful at first, but once you do it, you can remember. Oh, great. Okay, so now I know that C is going to be the 4 in relation to the G. So 1, 2, 3, 4, do, re, mi, fa. Same is true going up to the 5. Do, re, find your way, do, re, mi, fa. So. And let's say if you go up here, if you walk your way up here to this D, and you're like, well, but I don't know how to play a D up here, but you know how to play it down here in the open position. Then you can head on back down there. So let's say if you were to have an assignment when it comes to theory, just talking about what we were just covering, like I'd say play the game of taking any chord that you know, any chord that you've, like, let's say open chord. So any open chord that you know, and then see how long it takes you to find the 4 chord and the 5 chord. Because almost definitely you already know what those chords are. Like, you know what an E is if you've been playing for a little while. You know how to play an E, you know how to play a D, you might know a whole bunch of other chords, but you might not yet have connected all of like the connective tissue to be able to have those the 1, 4, 5s pop into your head the moment you hit any one of those chords. And that's something that I realized, like, over the years, little by little, that became more and more second nature. It wasn't something that I just sat down and devoured the idea of 1, 4, 5s and then just mapped them out to all the different chords. It was more like I heard about 1, 4, 5s. I got really good at a 1, 4, 5 in the key of E, playing like an E blues. But then sometimes, someone would say, oh, we're going to play in B. And I would be really confused, be like, what is the 4 compared to B? Because I'm only used to going, in the up direction or whatever it is. Something might throw you off. So try as your theory assignment to just take a chord like we did A, and then tell yourself, okay, what's the 4 and the 5? The A at 4 is the D, 5 is the E, and then back to the A. Now, the trick is, don't always go in the same sequence. You might then say, okay, the A is the 4 of, you tell me. So now we're starting on A, but now we're saying that A is the 4 in relation to what chord as the 1. So no longer is A your home base. Where does A go? If it wants to go home, to its home. Go to your home. A is the 4 chord. What would that make the 1 chord? It would be E. And that's one of the things that is kind of confusing, is that the 4 and the 5, it kind of, it's almost like an optical illusion, because it's like you've got, we'll go back to the root of it. The beginning, we had A as the 1. And from A to the 4 chord, what's the 4 chord in A? Yeah, it's the going the wrong way around thing that happens a lot. It happens to me all the time too, where it's like if you go up or if you go down, the 4th or the 5th, it gets confusing because it'll mix you up by 1. So the goal is, and this is what again, your assignment is going to be, can you take the steps out of calculating from 1 to 4 and 5? So instead of, as much as that's a helpful tool, the A, B, C, D, you're never going to want to be thinking that way in the middle of a song. Because if someone says, yeah, let's play, Wild Thing. Okay, cool. I know how to play Wild Thing in G. And they're like, no, we're going to play it in A. And then you're like, gulp. Ready, 3, 4. Where's the, you got to be able to quickly move your set of chords over to the next key. And so right here in A, we've got A, 1, 4 is the D, and 5 is the E. But then all of a sudden, let's say we're in D. What's the 1, 4, 5 in D? So we've got D is the 1 now. What's the 4? D is our 1. What is the 4? D is the 1, D, E, F, G. And the 5 of D is A. That's what's so frustrating about a lot of stuff with music theory is that you have only like 7 letters, that you're working with. You got A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then you've got the flats and the sharps. But it's almost like because there's only that few number of moving parts, they can get very confusing because if you flip them around, all of a sudden they're similar, but they're slightly different. So like in the key of G, the 1, 4, 5 would be G, C, and D. So that'll be your assignment, is for Whiskey and Portia, and anyone else who wants to jump in, doing the 1, 4, 5s, we'll call them the 1, 4, 5s, in various keys. And you can't follow the same pattern, so don't be too much of a grown-up about it and being like, I'm going to go alphabetically. Nope. You got to go into shuffle mode as soon as you can, because let's say if you sit down, and I would recommend that you have grab your phone and set like a drum loop or a metronome. I won't bother recommending a particular app. Just use whatever works. We all know how to work that side of it now. You can find a guitar tuner that has a boring little click track that can work. A click track, here's an example. I'm blowing up. Let's see. So that's just the world's boringest click track. Sure, that could work even to that. So you've got you could start off real slow. It'd be like even slower. Let's see, I'll dial it way back down. Never ever feel self-conscious about going ultra slow. I'm learning piano and I go ultra slow on piano. Even though I'm like, I know how to play this one part fast, but I can't play the whole part fast. So you're as fast as your slowest moving part when it comes to learning these things. So 2, 3, 4, like E, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, B, 2, 3, 4, A, E, E. See, all the E, A, B, even the fact that the letters sound the same can get confusing. Just like when people talk and they sort of misspeak. So that's the key of E. So key of A. A, that's the 1 chord. We've gone over this already. D is the 4 chord. E is the 5 chord. And then go back to the 1. Okay? And it might seem a little bit like redundant to be saying it, but say it as you play it. Say it, and even better, sing it. And apologize in advance to your significant other if there's anyone else that you're sharing the house with, especially now in close quarters. Say, I'm practicing my riffs, babe. And but don't be shy about vocalizing it. And I'm a real proponent of that. And I don't know, there's a lot of teachers that feel that way, but it's meant a lot to me to try to say and sing what I'm playing, to try to absorb it and internalize it. It goes a lot faster. And that's, I think, something that makes up for what we miss from when you're learning as a kid. There's something about it where you can really have a deeper focus and just kind of absorb things. Your brain is in a different kind of state at that age too. So to help supplement that, I think we got to try to bring the knowledge in on as many levels as we can. And this even goes for when you're dealing with, the emphasis behind this program is trying to connect veterans and people that might be experiencing the unseen wounds of combat, to have more ways to express and connect with the feelings. And because sometimes just sitting and talking about it doesn't cut it. And we all know that just from life. It's like sometimes sitting and talking about your problems or talking about disagreements with a person, you could do that until you're blue in the face, and it doesn't touch what it feels like to just sort of like, hug the person, or maybe like, go somewhere and do something with the person, or if it's within your own self and your memories, to sing a song about it, or to listen to a song about it, or to try something new. It might be that, like, with what Garrett has been doing on this channel with the working with clay, might be something that you've never tried before, but the fact that it's brand new could really show you something, a new avenue, a new way to access that part of who you are without having to kind of go through the front door, as it were, and always use your words and always kind of explain. A lot of times we get really exhausted from explaining our lives and explaining ourselves. And I know that seems like, wow, we're just talking about guitar chords, but really a lot of what's going on here is like, can you connect to like your body and the vibration of what it's like to sing, and keep reminding yourself that this is music. It's music, even though right now it's like clinical. We've got this really like sterile kind of click going along, and it feels like we're just playing the spare parts of a song. We wish we could just play the song. Just let it be really simple, and let it be something that doesn't need explaining for a while, and just devote yourself to the game. The game of it right now is like, okay, I got to come up with 1, 4, 5 on the fly, and I'm going to be quizzing myself. 2, 3. So we've got D. What's the 4? G. What's the 5? It's A. Maybe I go back to the 4. It's the G, and then home to the D. And then you might take a second, let a few rounds of the click go by, and be like, okay, where to next? Let's see. Well, let's do C. 3, 4. C. 2, 3. What's the 4 of C? It's F. What is the 5 of C? It's G. I'll go back to the 4, so I go back to the F. I go back to the C. Okay, now we'll do F. F. And you're like, oh shoot. Oh boy. Oh, it's a B flat. Oh, bar chord. Oh. C. B flat. F. You can even, a lot of times when I'm practicing piano, I'll be doing patterns like this and doing them in different keys. And like, God help my neighbors if they can hear it. I'm sorry. You know what you signed up for. It's Nashville. You got a musician. You got a hoodlum living next door, practicing his scales, doing my part to quarantine my brain. But as I do it, sometimes I'll sing just a dumb made up song. And if that's your style, do it. If you got a real creative brain that wants to like freestyle and come up with ideas, like there's nothing holding you back from writing a song or just, riffing and making up stuff that you may never use. But like, there's nothing preventing you from stumbling upon something that's real music while you're practicing something else. So you could be doing like, hey, I hate practicing my chords, and it's so boring. I know this is 1. I know this is 4. I don't know what the 4 came back for. 1, 4, 5, 1, 1, 4, 5, 1. So at the end there, I was like changing the chords quicker. The tempo stayed the same, but I was just moving quicker with how soon, I would change to the next chord. Do that. Cycle your open chords. So for example, we did like of the open chords we got, and if you're just seeing this, if you're watching this on the replay or something, you can download, I should have said this earlier, you can download this exact PDF. And here's the beauty of it. I think I created a command here that can help us all out. Click on, gonna work? Is it gonna work? Yeah. Click on that Discord link that just showed up in the chat. Yeah. And sorry, I guess it's sort of doubling down on its pushing that link forward. But anyway, click on that Discord link, join the CreatiVets Discord server. And the Discord server is just a way that you can communicate with us when we're not streaming, which is great. And in there's a channel devoted just to guitar class. That's just what I call it. I don't know, maybe we'll change it later, but it says guitar class. And the very first thing that has been posted there just today is this PDF that we just had up here. So if you join the Discord, not only can you communicate and hit us up with more ideas about what you want to learn, and that way I can sort of prepare some lesson plans that are custom fit to what you're wanting, and including other teachers. There's a lot of amazing songwriters and musicians in Nashville that have worked with CreatiVets that are going to be jumping in and teaching. And my guess is that we'll be able to kind of like overlap and cover a lot of ground if we know what you guys want, what you guys and girls out there are interested in learning. Because if we know that, then like someone can jump in and cover the stuff that you guys are hoping to continue on. And the beauty of it is that all these different perspectives, someone's going to have a totally different approach to teaching that will probably be a lot less, like talkative than mine. But we're just kind of getting off the ground here. So until we have an audience that's kind of back and forth with us and letting us know, we're just going to be sending out our signal and hoping that you guys can let us know what you are hungry for. So right here, this chord chart, your assignment once again, and I know you've chosen to accept it because where else are you going to go? I got you. You cornered yourself with this quarantine. You're going to learn some guitar, whether you like it or not. So these chords over here include some minor chords. You might know all of these chords. My challenge to you is to go through all of these chords and to do 1, 4, 5, and to do it to a tempo. Don't just do it without any sort of beat, because if you're able to just do it like with all the time in the world to think about it, that's not technically music. That's one thing that I'll say, like, we kind of want to tell ourselves, like, well, first I'm going to play it perfectly without anyone watching and without any click track, and then I'll add the click. It's like, yeah, don't do that. Play the click as slow as you have to and play your chords as bad as you have to. And there's going to be parts of it that you're like, oh, I got this one. G, I got down pat. But you're only as fast as your slowest part here. So take this one idea and take your lumps. In other words, like hit the speed bumps, hit the things that make you go like, oh, that's frustrating, and just cruise through them slower. So for example, the G, C, D, G. That's the 1, 4, 5. Last thing I'll tell you is the minors. Minors have 1, 4, and 5 as well. And the root, the bass note of those chords, well, the root note, I'll say, of those chords is going to be the same as with the major. It's just that the chords are going to be slightly different. So with A minor, be like A minor. Now instead of A minor going to, instead of A major going to D major, A minor is going to go to D minor. D minor's on that chart as well there at the bottom. And I want you to play, for the 5 chord, play the major chord just like you did before. So if this was A major, we would do A major as the 1 chord. We would do D major as the 4 chord. Sorry, burp. And then just like I said in the beginning, we do the E major as our 5 chord. Now when you're doing minor, you're going to do a minor 1 chord, a minor 4 chord, and then play a major for the 5 chord, and then go back to the minor 1. Okay? So going through this chart, not every single chord will you be able to maybe build the 1, 4, 5, but give it a shot. It would be like G, 1, 4, 5, then A minor, 1, 4, 5, 1, B minor, 1. It gets a little bit trickier, I guess, with the voicing. But you can do it. you're going to be hitting chords that aren't on this chart. So if you know those chords, you gotta spell it out and play them. This is a C add 9, which is just a variation of the C. C, F, G, C. And then D, G, A, D. So I'm just going like through these chords on the chart. I'm at the D right now and spelling, like I said, the 1, 4, 5. E minor 7, you can treat that like an E minor. E minor, A minor, B 7, or a B. Let's see. We'll do a little drum beat. So let's say you have some music production skills and you're like, oh, I'm so frustrated because I know how to do stuff in Ableton or in Logic and Pro Tools, but I can never make myself sit down to learn guitar because it's so boring compared to like playing all the instruments, you know, and you talk like this and you're like, oh my gosh, guitar. You can incorporate that into it. So like, I don't know, you could build up a much more complex beat than this, but even just like playing along with something that sounds a little more like music. So I'm just looping these. You could build something like this, and you could do the same exercise, switching over to the electric. Gotta unmute the amp. So I got G, C, D. Now I can switch to minor right here. And then if you're savvy enough to be like, you know, okay, cool, I did that key. I don't feel like replaying the bass. You can like, so I just transposed it. I'll show you what I'm doing. And this is not at all to say like, this is how you have to do it. I'm saying that, for example, if you're like, well, practicing an instrument, it always sounds so boring. But if you're like really comfortable in these programs, here's just an example where you can be like, all right, I created a little simple loop. And it's kind of like mixing in, I always use hot sauce analogies. It's like mixing a little bit of hot sauce to spice it up. So like, literally I can move this all over the place. So I'm like moving the key all over the place. So the original key was G. See if I move it up a couple steps. So now it's A. Minor, A minor, D minor, A minor, D minor, E7, D minor. Okay, if you're watching, tell me what key should I go to next? We're in A right now. Where do you want to go next? Where's the next stop? What do you think, Tony? B. He said B is for bacon. Okay, all right. F sharp, E. Okay, we'll go to C next, Porsche. B minor, E minor, F sharp, major. Okay? This type of thing you can do to just keep testing yourself until there's going to be like, until some of them are going to get so automatic that you should feel like, I got this. I got this. Oh, C I got, G I got. And you start to kind of dissolve. I always think of it almost like, again, it's been really cool sitting at the piano and feeling this same feeling of like, you make some progress, then you hit a snag and you feel frustrated. And I don't know if it's exactly like sort of dissolving, like you sort of feel like you melt away these, the snags, or like a tangle. You sort of untangle these like knots, I guess. But you basically just have to live with it and keep looping it. And some parts of it will get really easy where it's like, oh yeah, C, okay, guys, C, F, G. And then you have that one where it's like kryptonite, where if someone were to call, okay, F sharp, so when you hit those moments where it's like, not there yet with that one, that just tells you got to spend a little more time and use the same process that you did for the other ones. Just let it kind of wash over you. You're not in any hurry. That's when you set aside your time. 10 minutes might turn into 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. Then you start to get that momentum going. You look forward to playing. When you're not playing, you want to get back to your guitar. And then you put in more time than you had allotted for, and that's good. That's one of these things where you can get lost in it, and 20 minutes becomes an hour, and then you're loving it. And you can also try, when it comes to guitar, the beauty of it compared to a piano is that you can sit with a guitar at your lap while you're watching Netflix or whatever. You can absolutely do your thing. You could literally be sitting with your guitar while you're doing email and stuff like that, and then just play a chord. And if you get this little, this game that we're talking about going, if you get it so that it's like an ongoing thing with yourself, you could be sitting with your guitar, finishing an email, doing a call, working remotely. And as long as you don't hit the guitar, they don't need to know you got a guitar there. And then before you make your next call, you can be like, okay, F, B flat, C, F, B flat, F. Dope. All right, next email. So that's what I would say. Get the guitar in your hands as much as possible. Hit your mark, like pick your time of day and experiment with it. See if it's early in the day or it's the end of the day when you want to unwind, but have some dedicated time that you sit down and you're gonna just focus on guitar only. But then see if that leads you to wanting to have it in your hands more often throughout the day. And then test yourself. For those that were watching, I got the sense that like you got some of the basic chords and you're getting into the theory of like the chord patterns. This is the chord numbering system that we're talking about. Those Roman numerals, those go back to like I learned that in classical theory. I dipped my toe into the music theory world just enough to be like, okay, now I can go use this in pop music. But those Roman numerals come from that system, and they're very helpful so that you can be in any key and know how to build the harmony of a song. If someone says play the 1, the 4, the 3 minor, the flat 7, whatever, it can get more and more advanced from where we are right now, but it becomes a sort of a unifying language. So you want to try to absorb that into your bloodstream, as it were. Don't absorb the virus in your bloodstream. Wash your hands, okay? Again, 20 minutes. 20 minutes, that's what they said. No, they meant minutes. It's not seconds. 20 minutes every day. Yeah, you should be washing your hands while you're washing your mind. Anyway, all that makes sense, I hope. My name's Tim. I do Timmy's Comeback later this evening. Check out, I think I can drop into the chat. It'll just be like, you guys are already in the loop for those that are here. But just to reiterate, we are CreatiVets Live, and I'm just a grateful and happy participant in the whole scheme of things. So check out more about CreatiVets. If you yourself are a veteran, and if you're going through a tough time, if you would like to reach out to our community, please don't hesitate, because if it's not guitar that you're looking for, if it's not art you're looking for, it might just be someone that you can connect with and be not feeling sort of cooped up as much as everyone is cooped up physically. You don't want to be feeling isolated or stuck in your head or your own thoughts. So stay out of that dark place, step into the light, and just connect with us if you want to. CreatiVets.org is the website. I think you've seen that pop up a bunch of times here in the chat. So obviously we reach out to people to try to collect donations and funding for all the programs we do. But if you'd like to apply for some of the programs, or if there's someone in your life that would benefit from it, don't hesitate. Click on those links and check out what we have going on. And we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep doing music and arts, live streaming, and it really comes down to whatever it is you guys want. We want to add value to your lives and be there in a real strong way. So for more on our schedule, I don't know if we have a link to it yet, but I think I'll just create one here. Just sort of the by hand version of it. I think this should probably get you there. Yeah, it turned into a link. So creativevets.org/live. That's the schedule, and it's all coming together day by day as we're doing this. So check it out. Come on back. And next time I see you, I want to hear how your riffing and your rocking went. 1-4-5s, baby. 1-5-4s, 4-5-1s, flip it all around on its head. Because once you got it upside down and all around, you're ready to rock, baby. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, you can already hear this and hear like 90 different songs that this is, right? So if I go back down to the original key, thank you all. They're the best. Yeah, that was the tease right there. Some people call me a space cowboy. Some people call me Maurice. Woohoo! Some people call me. You know the words, yeah. Cause I speak. All right, take care of yourselves. I'll see you again soon, okay? All right, and I mean that. Go wash your hands. 20 minutes. Scalding hot water. No. See ya.